Welcome. I'm Justin Silverman of the New England First Amendment Coalition. Thank you all for joining us for this Data Cleaning 102 class. For those of you who couldn't join us last month for Data Cleaning 101, please visit our YouTube channel or our website, nefac.org. You can find a recording of that class and all of the information you need to catch you up to speed. For the purposes of this class, I'll need you all to download the OpenRefine software, as well as the two data sets that were provided on the registration page, as well as available on our website. If you're watching this as a recording, all of the information and links that you need is in the video summary. We have a lot to cover and not a lot of time, so let's get right to it. Your instructor, Maggie Mulvihill. Maggie?
So I'm assuming everybody saw Data Cleaning 101, so we're not going to go too deep into what cleaning data is. The tool that a lot of journalists like to use is this free tool, open source tool called OpenRefine that can clean lots of different types of data, and journalists also use it to explore data. It runs on Windows, on Macs. You can work with it even offline. What we're going to do today is 5 different things. We're going to grab a URL, bring data in that way, and learn how to create a project. I'm going to show you how you can increase memory in OpenRefine. We're going to split columns up, do a little bit on faceting in OpenRefine, and learn how to cluster data. When you clean data, what you're doing is you're making it uniform and standard for analysis. And these are some examples of when data is dirty, when information is missing, when there's extra white space between text or strings of text, when things are mislabeled or named incorrectly. An example of this is a story that I did with students years ago in which we were trying to show how much money politicians in Massachusetts spent on different items, like limousines, hairstylists, flowers, and the column that had that information in it was really dirty. Flowers was named all different types of things, so you couldn't do one sort of SQL query on flowers, because it was named florist, bouquet, wreath. So we had to make it uniform, and that's what you're doing before you can work with a data set and get any kind of reliable analysis. So let's go right into grabbing a URL. If you open up OpenRefine, it runs on the command line first, and then it will give you this interface. And what I want you to do is to bring data in from a URL into the web interface. So we're going to find some City of Boston data to clean. Go to the City of Boston's website, Analyze Boston. And I want you to find the data for building permits. So just search for building permits. And you should get this web page. Instead of downloading the data, I want you to find the URL. And we do that by clicking on Preview. So if you click on Preview, will bring you to a URL. And at the time that I grabbed this data, there was about 459,000 records. You might have a larger number of records you can see on the lower left. Go ahead and copy that URL, just right-click and copy on it. And then when you open Refine, it asks you, where do you want to get data from? We can get it from our computer, which we're going to do in a second, but we can also get it from web addresses, Google data. You could bring in a database. If you were working on cleaning data and then you saved it and stopped, you can go back to it later by opening up a project. We're going to be creating a project today. But once you paste the URL address into the address bar here, you just click Next, and your data will import in. And you do a check of it here. You get a preview box that shows you a lot of different things. Is it storing blank rows? How do you want it to parse the text? I rarely change anything on this window. This is a comma separated file, so that's why CSV is clicked. But if we think it looks good, then we can click on Create Project on the upper right, and it will bring in your data and create a project for you so that you can then start to clean. And this is what it would look like once you create the project. This data is pretty clean. We don't have to do a lot to it, but you might get a very dirty data set. And once you finish cleaning, which we're going to do in a second, you can also then export your data for visualization, or if you want to put it into SQL so you can write queries or R. OpenRefine defaults to showing just 10 rows, but if you click on 25 or 50, you can expand it. Or you can also go over here and click next to page through it, or go to the last page. So that's how you get a URL. You can also change the memory in Refine. There's a default number that it's set at. The way to change memory or increase memory if you're bringing in a really large data set is on the sort of the home page, the interface page. You go to Preferences, which is just below this little diamond here. And then you can edit. Click on Edit and change this, to whatever number you need it to be, to enlarge it. Say change it to 10,000, and then just click OK. So if you're working on a really large data set, you might want to increase the memory. We can also split columns in Refine. So go ahead and open up the employee data set that you have. And we're going to bring that into Refine. So open that up, just take a quick look at it. And now if you're in Refine and you did the URL exercise, let's just go back and get a clean interface page. So to do that, you click on the blue diamond to the extreme upper left, and that will give you a fresh page. So click on that blue diamond, and now you can browse your files to find that employee data set. I think it's only 10 or 15 records. And it should recognize it. And then you click Next, and it will bring it in. And you'll get a preview of it. And if it looks pretty good, then you can click Create Project, and it will bring your data in for cleaning. So we've got our data set here, and we might want to change, split up the first and last names. We're going to just split these in two right here, and it's really easy to do once you have your data set in. So go to the left-hand side of the name column and click that down arrow. And you'll get an option to edit the column and split it into several columns. We're just going to split it into two for right now. So go to Edit Column, split into several columns. And because the first and last name are separated by a comma, we need to tell Refine that that's our separator. And we want to split it into two columns. Just make sure to uncheck remove this column, because we don't want our original column to go away if for some reason we wanted to go back and check on it. And then if you click OK, it should split it into two names. You can't really see it here on my slide because I'm renaming the columns, but it split it into two additional columns. And now if we wanted to rename those as last name and first name, we go up to our name 1 column, go to edit column, rename this column, and the same thing with name 2. Change that to first name. We could also split the date of birth. Now you can see on this slide how this changed my my first and last name. And we want to also change our date of birth. It's all crammed together in there. So we're going to separate this a little differently. So click on the down arrow next to date of birth. And we again go to edit column and split into several columns. And we're going to do this a little differently. We're going to separate this by field length. So we're going to actually count out the integers in the year, in the month, in the day. And that is how we're going to split this up. So if you go to the down arrow and you check split into field length, we want to split the information by the number of integers. So you're going to type 4, comma, because there's 4 integers in the year. So 4, comma, 2, comma, and 2. 4 for the year, 2 for the month, and 2 for the day. And then if you click OK, you'll get it split. And then we can go ahead and click on our new columns with the down arrow and just rename those. Date of birth year, date of birth month, and date of birth day. Okay, I also want to show you facets. Facets is a way of cleaning your data by bringing it into a box on the left-hand side and then taking a look at it and seeing what needs to be edited. So I want you to create a project with the Franken data. Let's get a clean interface, go all the way back to the upper left and click on that diamond again. So you get a clean interface. And then browse your files for the Franken data. And once you click on it, it will recognize that it's the Franken data. These are campaign contributions for former Senator Al Franken from Minnesota. And then if you click next, it will import it in, give you a preview window. You don't need to adjust anything here. Then click Create Project, and it will bring the data in. So here's your preview window with all of the different columns. And if you create project, it will bring the data in. And we can see a few things here, you know, that there's 10,000, almost 11,000 rows. We wanted to store blank rows. So once you create project, you should see something like this. And again, it defaults to 10. We can change that to 50. And it has the name of the politician who's raising money, some other columns that you could probably hide or get rid of by just clicking on the down arrow, contributor name, occupation, zip code. With faceting, we can do a couple of things. Let's first go to the down arrow under contributor name, CONT name. And let's just make sure there's no extra white space or trailing spaces after our string of text. So here you would go to Edit Cells, Common Transformation, and then you can either trim the leading and trailing white space, consecutive white space. I like to work in uppercase with my data. You can change the case, you can change the format of your data here. So just click on trailing, leading and trailing white space and see if you can clean any of that up. There may be none, but you just want to do a double check. And then for practice later, go ahead and do the same thing on other columns like city and state. We can also create new columns based on our columns. We might want to just, even though we probably made a copy of our data, we might want to just have the original column in view while we're working on cleaning another column. And that is easy to do. Let's just try it here with city. Go on the city column. Go to edit column. And now you can add a column based on this column. And you'll get this new pop-up window, and you'll just give it a new name. Add a column based on this column. And I just named my city underscore new and click OK. And now here's where we can facet. This will help us clean if any of the cities are misnamed. They're the same city, but they're named, they're spelled slightly different ways. So if you go to your new city column, click the down arrow and click on facet and text facet, you'll see all of your choices, all of your cities in this new facet box that pops up on the left-hand side. You'll see your blank rows. So you can check and see if any of those are misspelled, or if any of them are actually the same city and belong together. And you can make those changes if you hover over next to one of the city names, just for example, Wynwood. You'll see this edit button pop up, and you can change that city name. I actually changed my blank row to unknown. And you could do the same thing with your state column. Edit column, create a new column based on this column. You can rename it. I called it state new. And then on your new column, go to facet and text facet. And you'll get all of your choices on the left-hand side in the facet window. And this also gives you, an idea of sort of counting. It's counting the states. We have 53 choices. As we go through and clean, that number will go down as it gets cleaner and cleaner. You can just hover over, on the right-hand side next to one of your city names or the new state names, click edit and make the changes that you want to make. I want to show you finally how to merge columns and cluster them. In this data set, we have city and state separated. And we don't want to have to go through and clean all the cities and then all the states separately. So we're going to merge those two columns together, and it will make our cleaning a lot faster. So let's go ahead and click on city. And you should see edit column and an option for you to join columns. So we're going to join the city and the state together. And when you click on join columns, you'll get this window. And you just have to tell it what you want it to join and what it should separate the join by. So here I want it to join city. You can't see it on the screen, but I also want it to join state. I want to join those together, but I want space between the city and the state. So the separator that I'm going to put in, and it's really, your choice, however you want to do it. I just put in 2 spaces. So in this bar right here, just hit your tab button twice to create a 2-space separator between city and state. Click OK. And now you should have a new column with your city and state together. And now we can cluster, which is a way of really cleaning data quickly. So on that new column, go to Facet, go to Text Facet, click Cluster, and it will bring the city and state together over here in the cluster window. And then you can start to go through and cluster things and see what you need to fix. So you cluster on several different methods and several different keying functions. Fingerprint is the default, but once you hit cluster, you can start to clean things up. So if we think that this looks good, St. Paul, Minnesota, and we want it to appear in our data this way, St. Paul, MN, we just hit the merge box. This looks good, West St. Paul. However you want it to appear, you type it in here. And it will clean it up. Just make sure that a city in that state exists, that there's nothing that looks amiss. And you cluster, there's 2 different methods you can use for clustering. And then there's different keying functions. So here you can see, all the different cluster options you have, and then you just type in how you want it to appear. And if you're good with how you want it to appear here, you can just click merge. And you get an option to merge the selected choices and recluster. And so you go through that with all of your different choices. And the number is going to go down as you clean. We started out with 1582. And as we go through and clean, it's going to go down and down and down. So if there are any questions, feel free to give me a shout. My email is mmulvih@bu.edu. And I'm happy to help you, walk through it with you again, or if you have a dirty data set and you want some help with it, there's no problem. Just reach out to me. And I'm also going to give this presentation to Justin so he can send it to you and you can practice. All right, so thank you very, very much. And I hope you guys have fun cleaning data.
Thank you, Maggie, and thank you all for joining us for this Data Cleaning 102 class. As always, if you find that the skills you learned here are helpful to you and your work, please consider making a donation to NEFAC or become a sustaining member at nefac.org/join. Also, we're looking for your feedback, your thoughts and suggestions. What skills are most needed? How can we best serve you during this 30-minute session every month? Please email me directly with all of your comments and suggestions, justin@nefac.org. I look forward to hearing from all of you, and we'll see you next month.